The grand chamber of the Galaxy Council stretched out like a vast cathedral made of light and crystal. Thousands of alien beings filled the seats that spiraled upward into the darkness above. Some had multiple eyes, others floated in containment, fields and many possessed forms that human minds struggled to understand. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Jiwan of Earth, a small figure in a simple blue uniform, clutching a data pad with trembling hands. She had practiced her speech 1,000 times. Every word had been chosen carefully by the best minds on Earth. This was humanity's moment, their chance to join the galactic community that had existed for millions of years. Behind her, holographic displays showed Earth in all its beauty. Blue oceans, green forests, cities that gleamed with light. Then came images of human achievements. Art, music, science, the first stumbling steps into space. Jiwan spoke clearly, her voice amplified across the massive chamber. She told them about humanity's journey from cave dwellers to space explorers. She spoke of their mistakes and how they learned from them. She explained how humans had finally united under one government, putting aside old hatreds to reach for the stars together. Her words painted a picture of a species ready to learn, ready to contribute, ready to be part of something greater. The aliens listened in silence. Some took notes with devices that floated in the air. Others whispered to neighbors in languages that sounded like music or grinding metal or rushing water. Jiwan could not read their expressions. How could she? These beings were so different from anything on Earth. When she finished, the chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then Elder Thraxus rose from his seat at the highest point of the council. He was ancient. His species had been traveling the stars when Earth's sun was still young. His body was covered in what looked like living crystal, and his voice resonated like a bell when he spoke. "We have reviewed your application," Thraxus said. "We have studied your history, your culture, your technology. We have watched your species for 300 of your years." Jiwan felt hope surge in her chest. 300 years of observation meant they had seen humanity's progress, seen how far they had come. "And we have reached our decision," the elder continued. "The Galaxy Council votes to deny Earth's application for membership. Furthermore, humanity is banned from joining the galactic community until such time as you prove yourselves worthy of this honor." The words hit Jiwan like a physical blow. She staggered, gripping the podium to keep from falling. "But why?" she managed to ask. "We've shown you everything. We've achieved faster than light travel. We've eliminated war on our world. What more do you want from us?" Another council member spoke, a being of pure energy contained in a spherical field. "Your species is too young, too violent. You have fought countless wars. Your history is written in blood." "But we've moved past that," Jiwan protested. "Every species has a violent past. You can't judge us by our history alone." "We judge you by patterns," Thraxus replied. "Your aggression is not just in your past. It lives in your genes, in your culture. You expanded across your solar system in mere decades, claiming every rock and moon as your territory. You built weapons even as you built hospitals. You cannot be trusted with the knowledge and power that council membership would provide. You're afraid of us," Jiwan said quietly, and the chamber erupted in noise. Aliens spoke in dozens of languages, some in anger, some in agreement. Thraxus raised a hand, and silence fell again. "We are cautious. There is a difference. This council has maintained peace across 10,000 worlds for epochs beyond your counting. We will not risk that peace for a species that has barely left its cradle." "How long?" Jiwan asked. "How long must we wait?" "That is not for us to say," the elder replied. "When you have proven that you can exist without conquest, without conflict, without the constant need to expand and dominate, then perhaps we will reconsider. Until that time, you are forbidden from entering council space. You are forbidden from contacting council species. You are forbidden from interfering with galactic affairs." "You're isolating us," Jiwan said, her voice breaking. "You're cutting us off from the entire galaxy." "We are protecting the galaxy from you," another council member said coldly. "Be grateful we do not demand more." The session ended. Jiwan was escorted from the chamber by silent guards who kept their weapons trained on her the entire way. She was taken to her ship and given 1 hour to leave council space. As her small vessel pulled away from the massive station, she looked back at the structure that housed the hopes of thousands of species. Hope that was now denied to humanity. Back on Earth, Captain Minho watched the broadcast from the bridge of the flagship Indomitable. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. They had all believed this was the beginning of a new era for humanity. Instead, it was a rejection that cut deeper than any weapon could. "Sir," his second officer said quietly, "what do we do now?" Minho stared at the screen, long after it went dark. His hands gripped the arms of his chair until his knuckles turned white. "We survive," he said finally. "We've done it before without them. We'll do it again." But even as he spoke the words, he felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Humanity had reached for the stars, and the stars had slapped their hand away. The question now was simple. Would they accept this judgment and slink back to Earth in shame? Or would they show the galaxy that humans didn't need anyone's permission to thrive among the stars? The answer, Minho knew, would define humanity's future for generations to come. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. They had gathered within hours of the Galaxy Council's rejection, summoned by emergency protocols. President Hyejin stood at the podium, her face calm despite the storm of emotions she felt inside. The large screens behind her showed the footage from the council chamber. They had all watched Ambassador Jiwan's plea. They had all heard Elder Thraxus deliver humanity's sentence. Now they waited to hear what their president would say, what path she would choose for their species. Hyejin looked out at the faces before her. She saw anger, shame, fear, and confusion. These were the emotions of a species that had been told they were not good enough, not worthy, not welcome. She had felt those same emotions herself just hours ago, but somewhere between the council's rejection and this moment, those feelings had transformed into something else entirely. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice steady and clear, "we have been rejected by the Galaxy Council. They have called us too violent, too aggressive, too young. They have banned us from their space and forbidden us from contact with their species. They have, in effect, told us to go away and come back when we have learned to be more like them." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I stand before you today to say that we will not be going away, but we will also not be coming back to beg for their approval." Murmurs rippled through the assembly, some of confusion, some of interest. Hyejin pressed on. "For 300 years we worked toward this moment. We united our world. We ended our wars. We reached for the stars because we believed that out there, among the countless species of the galaxy, we would find our place. We would find friends, allies, teachers. We were wrong, not because those things don't exist, but because we were looking for them in the wrong place." She gestured to the screens, and they changed. Now they showed images of human colonies, Mars with its growing cities under protective domes, the mining stations in the asteroid belt, the research facilities orbiting Jupiter's moons, the generation ships being built in orbit, ready to carry humans to distant stars. "We have already begun our expansion," Hyejin said, "not because the Council invited us, but because it is in our nature to explore, to grow, to reach beyond what we know. They call this aggression. I call it ambition. They call it dangerous. I call it human." Admiral Doyen stepped forward, a tall man with silver hair and sharp eyes. He had commanded Earth's defense fleets for 20 years. Now he unrolled a holographic star map that filled the air above the assembly. It showed council space, a vast region marked in blue. Around it in all directions spread unmarked territory, unclaimed space that stretched for thousands of light years. "The galaxy is bigger than the council," Doyen said. "Much bigger. They control perhaps 20% of explored space. The rest is open, waiting. We have identified over 500 habitable worlds within 50 light-years of Earth that lie outside Council territory. None are claimed. None are protected by their laws." He expanded the map and green dots appeared. Each one was a potential colony world. "We propose the formation of the human dominion, not as a rival to the Council but as an independent entity. We will claim these worlds. We will build our own civilization among the stars. We will trade with any species willing to trade with us. make allies with any who seek alliance, and defend ourselves against any who would stop us. The assembly erupted in discussion. Some delegates stood to voice concerns. Others nodded in agreement. Hyejin let them talk for a moment before raising her hand for silence. "I know many of you are worried," she said. "You think this path leads to conflict with the Council? You think we should be more cautious, more humble. But I ask you this, what has caution earned us? What has humility brought us? We have bent over backward to prove we are worthy, and they still found us lacking. So now we will prove our worth not to them, but to ourselves." From the science section, Dr. Yoonji stood. She was young for such an important position, but her brilliance was undeniable. In her hands she held a small device that glowed with inner light. "President Hyejin, if I may," Yoonji said, and Hyejin nodded. The scientist approached the podium. "The Council believes we achieved faster than light travel by stealing their technology. This is false. We developed our FTL drives independently through human ingenuity and hard work, but we never shared the details with them because we knew they would try to limit us." She held up the device. "This is a prototype of our next generation drive. It's faster, more efficient, and more reliable than anything the Council has. We don't need their technology. We don't need their permission. We have everything we need right here." The assembly broke into applause. It started slow but built into a wave of sound that filled the hall. Yoonji smiled, a rare expression for the normally serious scientist. Hyejin let the applause continue for a moment before speaking again. "The Galaxy Council wants us to prove we can exist without conquest and conflict. Very well. We will build our dominion through cooperation and mutual benefit. We will offer partnership to any species that seeks it. We will defend the weak and oppose tyranny wherever we find it. We will show the galaxy that humanity's strength lies not in domination, but in our ability to lift others up alongside us." She looked directly into the cameras that broadcast her words to every corner of Earth and every human settlement beyond. "This will not be easy. We will face challenges and dangers. Some species will fear us. Others will try to stop us. The Council itself may oppose our expansion, but we will not be deterred. Humanity has faced extinction, plague, war, and disaster. We have overcome every obstacle in our path. This will be no different." Admiral Doyen stepped forward again. "We have 6 colony ships ready to launch. Each can carry 10,000 people and enough supplies to establish a self-sufficient settlement. We have identified 6 worlds for the first wave of colonization. All are in neutral space, far from Council territory. Within 5 years we will have a presence on 50 worlds. Within 20 we will rival the Council in size and power." "And what about those who don't want this?" a delegate asked from the floor. "What about those who still hope for peace with the Council?" Hyejin smiled gently. "No one will be forced to join the Dominion. Earth itself will remain neutral ground. Those who wish to stay and continue diplomatic efforts with the Council are welcome to do so. But those who want to build something new, something uniquely human, they will have their chance." She looked around the assembly one last time. "We came to the Council as supplicants. We will build the Dominion as equals. The choice is made. The path is set. Now we walk it together." The vote was called. It was not even close. By a margin of 90%, the United Nations approved the formation of the human Dominion. Ships began launching within days. Humanity's great expansion had begun. 5 years had passed since the Council's rejection. Commander Jiwoo stood on the observation deck of the colony ship Aurora, watching as they entered orbit around their destination. The planet below was beautiful. Green continents wrapped in white clouds, blue oceans that sparkled in the light of the system's yellow sun. The scan showed it was perfect for human life. No dangerous predators, plenty of fresh water, rich soil for farming. They would call it New Haven. "Beginning deployment sequence," her second officer reported. Landing pods began launching from the Aurora's belly, each carrying prefabricated structures and equipment. Within hours, the first buildings would be standing. Within days, they would have a functioning settlement. Within months, it would be a thriving colony. This was the 32nd world that humans had colonized. From the observation deck, Jiwoo could see 6 other colony ships in orbit. Each carried thousands of eager settlers. Engineers, farmers, scientists, teachers, families looking for a fresh start. They came from every nation on Earth, united by the dream of building something new. "Commander," the communications officer called out. "We're receiving a signal." "It's not human." Jiwoo felt her heart rate increase. This was the moment they had all been preparing for. 5 years of expansion, and they had not encountered a single other species. Some had wondered if they were alone in this region of space. Others worried about what they might find. "Put it on screen," Jiwoo ordered. The view screen flickered and a face appeared. It was humanoid but clearly alien. Gray skin, large golden eyes, small nose and mouth. The being looked tired, almost fearful. "Human vessel," the alien said in broken but understandable English. "I am Yuna of the Velnari people. Please, we mean no harm. We only wish to talk. This is Commander Jiwoo of the human Dominion ship Aurora. We receive you in peace, Yuna. How can we help you?" The alien's eyes widened slightly at the mention of help. "You would help us? Even though we are unknown to you?" "That depends on what you need," Jiwoo replied carefully. "Tell me about your people." Over the next hour, Yuna explained the Velnari situation. They were a small species, only about 2 million individuals spread across 3 star systems. 50 years ago, they had been contacted by the Galaxy Council. The Council offered them technology and protection in exchange for membership. The Velnari had accepted eagerly, but membership came with a price. The Council imposed strict rules on Velnari expansion. They could not colonize new worlds without permission. They could not develop certain technologies. They had to pay heavy taxes to fund Council operations. Worst of all, they had no real voice in Council decisions. As a minor species, they were expected to obey without question. "We have heard rumors of your people," Yuna said. "Stories of humans who were banned by the Council but did not disappear. Instead, you built your own civilization. You have colonized dozens of worlds in just 5 years. You answer to no one but yourselves. Is this true?" "It is," Jiwoo confirmed. "We were rejected by the Council, so we chose our own path." "We wish to do the same," Yuna said, and now there was hope in those golden eyes. "But we are weak. The Council controls our homeworld. They have ships in our systems. If we try to leave, they will stop us." Jiwoo felt a surge of anger. This was exactly what President Hyejin had warned about. The Council claimed to maintain peace, but they did it by controlling other species, by limiting their growth and freedom. She made a decision that she knew would have major consequences. "Hold your position, Yuna. I need to make a call." She contacted diplomat Soman back on Earth. Soman was one of the key architects of the Dominion's foreign policy. If anyone knew how to handle the situation, it was her. The response came back within hours. It was exactly what Jiwoo hoped to hear. "We're authorized to offer the Velnari asylum," Jiwoo told Yuna. "Any of your people who wish to leave Council space can join the Dominion. We'll provide transport, protection, and help you establish new colonies outside Council territory." "But the Council will not allow this," Yuna protested. "They will see it as an act of aggression." "The Council doesn't control Dominion space," Jiwoo replied firmly. "They banned us, remember? That means they have no authority over what we do in our territory. If your people want to leave, that's their choice, not the Council's." Over the next 3 months, the situation developed rapidly. Diplomat Soman traveled to the Velnari homeworld in secret. She met with their leaders and explained the Dominion's offer. Partnership, not subordination. Freedom to grow and develop as they chose. Protection from Council interference. The Velnari leadership was divided. Some feared the Council's response. Others were tired of being controlled and saw this as their only chance for true independence. In the end, nearly 40% of the Velnari population chose to leave. That was 800,000 individuals. The evacuation was massive. Human ships traveled to Velnari space and began ferrying refugees to Dominion worlds. The Council protested loudly. They sent diplomatic messages demanding that humans stop interfering with Council members. They threatened sanctions and isolation. President Hyejin's response was broadcast across the galaxy. "The Velnari are not your slaves. They are free beings with the right to choose their own destiny. We have not forced anyone to leave. We have simply offered an alternative. If you truly believe in freedom and self-determination as your charter claims, then you should celebrate their choice, not condemn it." The Council could do nothing. The Velnari refugees were already in Dominion space, already being settled on new worlds. To attack would be an act of war, and even the Council was not ready for that. Not yet. Within a year, the Velnari had 3 new colonies in Dominion territory. They brought their knowledge and skills, contributing to human society, even as they rebuilt their own. More importantly, they brought legitimacy. The human Dominion was no longer just humans expanding into empty space. It was a true multi-species alliance. Jiwoo visited the first Velnari settlement on New Haven. She walked through streets where human and alien children played together. She saw shops where both species traded goods and ideas. She watched as they built something new together, something that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "Thank you," Yuna said, finding Jiwoo in the settlement's central plaza. "Thank you for giving us this chance." "Thank each other," Jiwoo replied. "We're building this together. That's what makes it work." News of the Velnari spread quickly. Other minor species in Council space began sending secret messages to the Dominion. They asked the same questions. Could they join? Would humans help them leave? What was the price of freedom? Zoman worked day and night processing these requests. She established criteria for membership in the Dominion. Species had to genuinely want independence, not just be looking for a new master. They had to be willing to contribute to the common good. They had to respect the rights of other species and work toward peaceful coexistence. Within 2 years of the first contact with the Velnari, 5 more species had joined the Dominion. Each brought their own strengths. The Kelrath were master engineers. The Prina had advanced medical knowledge. The Tuvari were artists and philosophers who enriched Dominion culture. The Zai were farmers who helped turn marginal worlds into breadbaskets. The Novari were explorers who knew routes through dangerous regions of space. The Dominion was no longer just a human project. It was becoming something much larger, a true alternative to the Council, a place where species could join as equals, where growth was encouraged rather than restricted, where freedom was valued above control. And in the Council chambers light years away, the elder members watched with growing concern. This was not supposed to happen. Minor species were not supposed to leave. Humans were not supposed to succeed. The Dominion was becoming a threat to everything the Council had built over millions of years. The question now was not if the Council would respond, but when and how. The shipyards of Titan had grown beyond anything the founders could have imagined. Engineer Taejin stood in the control center, watching through massive windows as construction robots assembled another heavy cruiser. This was the 43rd warship completed this year, and it was only July. The yards ran continuously. 3 shifts of workers from a dozen different species working together to build the Dominion's growing fleet. "We're 3 months ahead of schedule," his assistant reported. "At this rate, we'll have a fleet of 500 ships by year's end." Taejin nodded, but his expression remained serious. "We'll need them. Council scouts have been spotted in border regions. They're testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses." 10 years had passed since the Dominion's founding. In that time, humanity and its allies had claimed over 200 star systems. The population had grown to 15 billion across dozens of worlds. The economy was booming. New technologies emerged from Dominion labs every month. Trade routes connected their worlds in an efficient network. But success had brought attention. The Galaxy Council could no longer ignore them. What started as a small group of banned humans had become a major power. Species continued leaving Council space to join the Dominion. Each defection weakened the Council's authority and strengthened humanity's position. The Council had responded with subtle actions at first. They spread rumors that the Dominion was secretly aggressive, that they would turn on their allies eventually. They imposed trade sanctions on any neutral species that dealt with humans. They increased military patrols along Dominion borders, claiming they were protecting Council space from Dominion expansion. None of it worked. The Dominion's reputation was built on actions, not words. Every species that joined was treated as an equal partner. Every colony thrived through cooperation and mutual benefit. The contrast with Council control became more obvious with each passing year. Then came the day when subtle actions gave way to open aggression. Captain Nari commanded the patrol vessel Defiance, a new cruiser fresh from Taejin's shipyards. She was conducting routine patrols along the trade route between New Haven and the Velnari colonies when her sensor officer detected multiple contacts. "Captain, we have 6 vessels on intercept course. Configuration matches known pirate designs." Nari studied the tactical display. 6 ships against 1. Not good odds, but the Defiance was built for this. Battle stations. Send distress signal to Fleet Command. Begin evasive maneuvers. The pirate ships closed rapidly. They were fast, designed for hit-and-run attacks on merchant vessels. But the Defiance was not a merchant ship. As the pirates entered weapons range, Nari gave the order. "All batteries open fire. The Defiance's weapons were a combination of human and Kelrath technology. Railguns that could punch through heavy armor, energy shields that could absorb tremendous damage, missile pods that launched smart weapons capable of tracking multiple targets. The pirates had clearly expected an easy target. They got a nightmare instead. The first pirate ship exploded within seconds, caught by a direct hit from the main railgun. The second took 3 missile strikes and broke apart. The remaining 4 scattered, trying to escape, but Nari's tactical skills were exceptional. She anticipated their moves, positioning the Defiance to cut off escape routes. Within 10 minutes, 4 pirate ships were destroyed and 2 had surrendered. But as Nari's crew secured the prisoners, they discovered something troubling. These were not normal pirates. Their weapons were too advanced, their ships too well maintained. And when questioned, one of them revealed the truth. "We were hired by the Council," the pirate said. "They paid us to attack Dominion shipping, said they wanted to make your space look dangerous, discourage new members from joining." The recording of this confession spread across the galaxy within hours. The Council denied it, of course. They claimed the pirate was lying, trying to cause trouble. But the evidence was clear. The weapons found on the pirate ships included Council military technology. The payment records traced back to accounts linked to Council members. President Hijin addressed the Council directly via long-range transmission. "You have tried to isolate us. You have tried to sabotage us. You have tried to destroy us, and you have failed at every turn. The Dominion grows stronger each day, not because we conquer, but because we offer something you never could: freedom, partnership, hope. If you continue these attacks, we will defend ourselves with every resource at our disposal, but we would prefer peace. The choice is yours." The Council's response was silence, but behind the scenes things were changing. Ambassador Seojin, who had replaced Ji-won in the role of humanity's chief diplomat, began receiving communication requests from Council members. Not official channels, but private messages from individuals who wanted to talk. They met in secret locations, space stations in neutral territory, distant planets far from Council eyes, and what Seojin learned shocked him. The Council was not as united as it appeared. Many members were frustrated with the elder species who controlled decision-making. They saw the Dominion as an example of what could be possible if species were allowed to govern themselves. "Your success embarrasses them," one Council member told Seojin. She was a Draxi, a reptilian species that had been in the Council for thousands of years. The elders built their power on the idea that only they have the wisdom to maintain peace. "You have shown that young species can thrive without their guidance. Some of us are wondering if we need them at all." But not everyone in the Council felt that way. The elder species saw the Dominion as a threat that had to be contained or destroyed. They began pushing for military action. War resolutions were proposed. The Council military, which had not seen major combat in centuries, began mobilizing. Trade between the Dominion and neutral species exploded during this time. Many saw war coming and wanted to stock up on Dominion goods while they could. Engineered Tajin's shipyards worked overtime producing civilian vessels for trade. Merchant ships carried Dominion products across the galaxy: medicine, technology, art, entertainment. Species that had never heard of humans now used human devices and enjoyed human culture. The Dominion's soft power was growing as fast as its military might, and this worried the Council elders even more than warships did. You could fight ships. You could not fight ideas, and the idea that species did not need the Council, that they could thrive on their own, was spreading like fire. Meanwhile, Captain Nari became something of a legend. Her victory against the pirates was just the first. Over the next 2 years, she commanded fleets in a dozen engagements. Pirates, raiders, and even some Council ships that strayed too close to Dominion space. She never lost a battle. Her tactical innovations were studied in military academies across the Dominion. But Nari did not fight for glory. She fought to protect the people of the Dominion, human and alien alike. She fought because she believed in what they were building. A place where species could live together without fear, where talent and hard work mattered more than ancient bloodlines or political connections. The Council watched all of this and grew more desperate. Their sanctions failed. Their propaganda failed. Their attempts at sabotage failed. The Dominion continued expanding, continued attracting new members, continued proving that there was an alternative to Council rule. Elder Thraxus, The same being who had rejected humanity's application 10 years earlier convened an emergency session of the High Council. Only the most powerful species were present. They met in absolute secrecy to discuss what they all knew, but none wanted to say out loud. The Dominion must be stopped, Thraxus declared, by diplomacy if possible, by force if necessary. We cannot allow this rebellion to continue. But even as he spoke, ships were arriving at Council space carrying formal applications for membership in the human Dominion. And this time they were not minor species. They were established powers with significant military and economic strength. Species that had been in the Council for thousands of years were choosing to leave. The Dominion had gone from rejected outcasts to a serious rival in just 10 years. And the next 10 years would decide the future of the entire galaxy. 20 years after the rejection, Chancellor Minji stood before the assembled leaders of the human Dominion. The title of Chancellor had been created 5 years earlier, when the Dominion's government was reorganized to better represent its growing diversity. Minji had been elected by the combined vote of all member species. She was young for such responsibility, only 40 years old, but she had proven herself countless times as a negotiator and leader. The conference chamber was filled with representatives from 73 different species. Some were human, many were not. They spoke dozens of languages, though translation technology made communication seamless. They came from 400 worlds spread across 2,000 star systems. The Dominion was no longer just a human achievement. It was a galactic power built on principles of freedom and cooperation. "My friends," Minji began, and the room fell silent. 20 years ago, humanity was rejected by the Galaxy Council. They told us we were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous to join their ranks. They banned us from their space and tried to isolate us from the galaxy. Today I want to tell you what we have accomplished since that rejection. The holographic displays around the room came to life with statistics: population growth, economic output, technological advancement, territorial expansion. The numbers told a story of incredible success. But Minji knew that numbers alone did not capture what the Dominion had truly achieved. "We have built something unique in galactic history," she continued. "A civilization where species join by choice, not conquest. Where every member has an equal voice regardless of their size or power. Where innovation is encouraged, not restricted. Where the goal is to lift everyone up, not hold anyone back." She paused, and her expression grew serious. "But we face a challenge now. A threat that requires all of us to stand together." The displays changed to show long-range sensor data. Ships, thousands of them, moving through space toward Dominion territory from multiple directions. It was the largest military formation anyone had seen in centuries. "The Devourers have returned," Minji said simply, and gasps echoed through the chamber. The Devourers were nightmare made real, an ancient machine intelligence that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization millions of years ago. They consumed entire star systems for resources, leaving nothing but dead rocks behind. The Galaxy Council's greatest achievement had been defeating them and driving them to the edge of known space. But now they were back, and they were heading for the core worlds. "Council space will be hit first," Minji explained. "Within 6 months, the Devourers will reach their outer colonies. Within a year, they will threaten the Council homeworlds themselves. Our projections show that the Council military cannot stop them." "Not alone," a Velnari representative stood. "Why should we care? The Council has been our enemy. Let them face this threat alone." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Council had opposed the Dominion at every turn. They had sanctioned them, sabotaged them, even tried to hire pirates to attack them. Many felt that this was justice, that the Council was finally facing the consequences of their arrogance. But Minji shook her head. "Because billions of innocent people live in Council space. Because the Devourers will not stop with the Council. They will come for us next. And because we are better than the Council. We don't let people die just because we disagree with their government." She pulled up communications logs. "The Council has been sending us requests for help. Elder Thraxus himself has asked to speak with me. They are desperate. Their pride has been broken. They know they need us. What do they offer in return?" asked a human admiral. "Nothing," Minji replied. "They ask for help as equals, not as superiors granting favors." That is a significant change from 20 years ago. The debate lasted for hours. Some argued that the Dominion should help unconditionally. Others wanted guarantees and concessions from the Council first. A few still insisted that the Council should face this alone. But gradually a consensus emerged. "We will help them," Minji announced. "Not because they deserve it, but because it is right. We will send our fleets to defend Council space. We will share our weapons and our strategies. We will fight alongside them against this common enemy." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as possible. "But we do this as equals, not as subordinates begging for approval. We are offering our help because we choose to, not because we are ordered to. That distinction matters," the vote was called. It passed with 80% support. Within days, the Dominion fleet began moving toward Council space. Admiral Doyen, now elderly but still sharp, commanded the forces. With him were ships from every member species. Human cruisers flew alongside Velnari destroyers, Kelrath carriers, and Prina medical frigates. It was the most diverse fleet ever assembled. When they reached the border of Council space, they were met by Council ships. There was a tense moment as the two fleets faced each other. 20 years of hostility hung in the space between them. Then Elder Thraxus himself appeared on the communication channel. The ancient being looked different than he had 2 decades earlier, smaller somehow, less imposing. The crystal covering his body seemed dimmer. "Admiral Doyen," he said quietly, "thank you for coming. We need your help." "We're not here for you," Doyen replied. "We're here for the people you're supposed to protect. Now show us what we're dealing with." The Council shared all their intelligence on the Devourers, their numbers, their weapons, their tactics. The Dominion military analyzed it quickly. What they found was not encouraging. The Devourers had evolved since their last appearance. They were faster, smarter, more deadly. Defeating them would require everything both sides could bring to bear. The first battle took place at the Outer Rim, a series of Council colonies that served as early warning stations. The Devourers arrived in force, hundreds of ships that moved with mechanical precision. They ignored all attempts at communication and began attacking immediately. The combined fleet met them head-on. Human railguns tore through Devourer hulls. Council energy weapons burned their circuits. Velnari engineers worked to hack their systems while Kelrath fighters engaged in close combat. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. Captain Nari, now promoted to fleet captain, commanded one of the battle groups. She had studied the old records of the Devourer wars looking for weaknesses. What she found was that the machines fought as a network, each ship linked to the others. If you could disrupt that network, they became much less effective. "Target their communication nodes," she ordered. "Don't try to destroy them. Just jam their signals." It worked. As the Devourers lost their ability to coordinate, their formation fell apart. Individual ships became vulnerable. The combined fleet pressed the advantage and drove them back. But it was only the first battle of a long war. Over the next year, the fighting raged across dozens of systems. Sometimes the combined fleet won. Sometimes they lost. Slowly, painfully, they learned to fight as one force rather than 2 separate groups. And something unexpected happened. As humans and Council species fought side by side, old hatreds began to fade. A human pilot saved a Council ship from destruction. A Council engineer fixed a Dominion cruiser's damaged engines. Soldiers from both sides bled together, fought together, died together. After a particularly brutal battle, Minji received a message from Thraxus. "I was wrong about your species," the elder said. "I believed you were too aggressive, too dangerous. But I see now that your aggression is not about conquest. It is about defending what you believe in. Your danger is not to the innocent, but to those who would harm them. I should have seen that 20 years ago." "Yes," Minji replied simply. "You should have." "If we survive this war," Thraxus continued, "things will change. The Council cannot continue as it has. Too much has been revealed about our failures. Perhaps the Dominion's way is better. Perhaps we have something to learn from you." "Perhaps," Minji agreed. "But first we have to survive." The turning point came at the Battle of the Core. The Devourers made their final push toward the Council homeworlds. Every ship from both sides converged on the system. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Millions of weapons fired. Thousands of ships fought and died. The battle lasted 3 days without pause. In the end, it was a joint strategy that won. Dominion hackers, led by Dr. Yunji, now in her 50s, found a way to insert a virus into the Devourer network. At the same moment, the combined fleet launched a massive strike on their command ships. The 1-2 punch shattered the Devourer formation. The surviving machines fled back to deep space. The war was over. Both sides had lost heavily, but they had won together. And in winning together, they had changed everything. 6 months later, the Galaxy Council formally invited the Human Dominion to join, not as subordinate members but as equal partners. It was the first time in Council history that such an offer had been made. Chancellor Minji stood once again before her people, this time with a decision to make. Accept the Council's offer and reunite galactic civilization under a reformed government, or remain separate and continue building the Dominion independently. 20 years ago, she said, the Council rejected us. Today they offer us membership as equals.